Jeremy said the L word.
Hey, I know what we're gonna analyze. The episodes in season 5. Hope it brings you laughter. This is Afterferb. We should play hide and seek because the floor is lava. Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you, Alex.
Oh yeah, it is our first time talking in 2026. Happy New Year.
Zach hasn't spoken for the last 17 days.
I know, it's been a challenge, especially because I work at the Jungle Cruise where I'm required to talk. My last day was terrible. They were so mad at me for not speaking at all.
It actually wasn't supposed to be your last day, but after not speaking the whole time, they
Actually, jokes aside, I do want to provide some context as to why my voice sounds like a bag of nails today. Like I said, yesterday was my last day at the Jungle Cruise, and I wanted to break my record for most cruises, so I did 21 trips. So I am, my voice is shot. I'm currently sipping on tea and honey, and ready to talk about Master of Fate. But before I do that, Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, because I found out the other day that there's going to be a new Phineas and Ferb movie coming out at some point in the future.
What?
What? Shocking.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard this news.
Are you breaking this here on Afterferb?
Yeah, you heard it here first, people. You heard it here first from me, everyone. There's going to be a new Phineas and Ferb movie. So, I gotta say, I was not at all surprised. I assumed that this was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
But I am very pleased about the elevator pitch or the synopsis or whatever it is, which is basically, for anyone who needs a refresher, I assume anyone listening has probably heard, that some kind of Doofenshmirtz Professor Time, maybe, time machine problem, time travel problem has resulted in a timeline where Linda and Lawrence never met, and then so Phineas and Ferb never meet. So we are going to get to see Ferb without Phineas, and we're going to get to see if he talks more or not. So that's what I'm most excited for.
To see if Ferb talks more?
Yep.
Yeah, I like the implication that Ferb would talk as much as Phineas if he didn't have somebody like Phineas around who just wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, I think the elevator pitch for this is pretty brilliant. Some people are theorizing that this was the original movie they were going to make for Disney Plus in 2020 that they thought would be like too weird for people who weren't familiar with Phineas and Ferb, so they pivoted to Candace Against the Universe. And that would track to me because this definitely seems like a movie that's like really interesting under the pretense that you already know Phineas and Ferb intimately well as a show.
What I'm excited about is I feel like Phineas and Ferb rarely examines the relationship between specifically Phineas and Ferb. Like even in these, bigger stakes episodes or movies, it's the relationship with Perry or the relationship with Candace. The only time we see Phineas and Ferb get adversarial with each other is in Star Wars, and that's technically like not even canon.
Yeah, when he tells them to shut up.
Yeah, pretty much. So it'll be nice to see kind of how their relationship, or lack of, how it impacts the two of them without the other in their life. And I think that's something that they haven't done yet. And while I'm excited for it, to echo what Alex said, not surprised at all. Very happily, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think my favorite peek into the Phineas and Ferb relationship that we've gotten before is when Ferb was at the dentist and Phineas was like, I have no idea what to do now. Ferb's always inspiring me or whatever. So I love so much, and I think this is a pretty good peek into what the movie's probably going to be, is the promo poster where Ferb is fading away and Phineas is going, today is going to be adequate.
Man, I have to say, that poster, I think you were the one who shared it in our Discord, Alex. I immediately assume that this was not official and this was just like made by somebody on Tumblr because it looks like a shit post.
No,
like,
that's exactly what I thought too. I saw that on Instagram, like after half waking up and being like, oh, that's some funny fan art. And then later I was like, oh, that was the movie announcement.
Yeah, it's like a hodgepodge of like the most like season 1 stock renders of them, like the low frame rate of Ferb fading in and out. And then Phineas, I don't know, to me it almost looks like he's like a 3D model or something. They definitely threw it together in like 15 minutes upon being like, oh, we need to get a poster to Variety magazine. But I think it's really funny.
Well, it just goes to show if they never met, there would be no high quality cartoon about them.
That's true. That's true.
It'd be funny if as the movie progresses, the animation quality just gets worse and worse until eventually it's
You're describing season 5.
Okay. Well, that segues perfectly into our first topic. We're going out of order. Wow, that comment about the season 5 animation just left our guest today gobsmacked.
We have a guest today?
If we have a guest. Oh, dang it, I didn't mean to spoil
we might
that.
not have a guest, so maybe that didn't happen, actually. We don't know.
You're right. You're right. Anyway, we're not talking. I wanted to segue from elevator pitch to elevator irritator, but we're not starting with that one. We're starting with Master of Fate, right?
Nice segue, Zach. Well
Thank
done.
you.
All right, so Master of Fate. This one, I really liked it, but I would also completely understand if someone was like, "This is the worst episode of the season." I would be like, you know what? Actually, good point. But even though I enjoyed it, it reminded me. My guess, I think Zach liked it and Andrew didn't like it, because this one reminded me of Tropey McTropeface, just in the sense that it was like a very novelty concept combined with extremely high stakes, i.e. the world might be ending, except we're not expected to take those stakes seriously at all at any point.
Who did you predict liked it and who didn't like it?
Zach, I think you liked it.
You're half correct. Andrew didn't like it, and I also did not like it.
No, you both didn't like it. Am I the most pro Master of Fate person in this?
I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I didn't like it as much as Elevator Irritator.
That's a good way of phrasing it. Like, it's not that it was bad. It's just I loved the first one, and I feel like this one was lacking compared to it.
But Lawrence
to me, this
is
episode.
back.
Okay, I do like that component of it. To me, this felt a lot like some of the season 3 and 4 episodes of Phineas and Ferb, where they were just like not afraid to get weird. It reminds me a lot of Lost in Danville. Do you remember that one? Where it's like they've got that satellite or space shuttle or whatever that crashes into their yard, and it's that old couple from space, and they're like, "You have to help us out. This hamster's dying." And then there's even almost beat for beat, there's some moments that kind of repeat themselves from that episode where like suddenly everything starts getting sucked into a vortex and Candace is like, "Mom, mom, mom," and then it goes away.
I have no recollection of this episode whatsoever.
It's a one of the more obscure Phineas and Ferb episodes. It's got a talking polar bear at the end, and they also then they make the joke that like, "Oh, that couldn't be Phineas. He had an extra stripe on his shirt," which is funny because in this season he always has an extra stripe on his shirt.
This sounds vaguely familiar. I've maybe seen this episode 2 times ever.
I feel like Andrew could be making this up right now, and I would have no idea.
Well, I had to go back and rewatch that one because I barely remembered it. But if like Kian was in the call with us right now, he would be like, "Oh yeah,
he'd be able to recall it like beat for beat." I don't know. I just felt like this episode, like you said, like it harkens back to when they weren't afraid to be weird. And this episode maybe thought, maybe they should be a little more afraid. I don't know. I just feel like
Keep your weirdness in the closet, guys.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. Like let's not, don't make me sound like that. Anyway, I don't know. I didn't feel like Master of Fate needed to look like Baljeet. That was just a bit confusing. And I feel like it got wrapped up a little too quickly. I mean, we could talk about the ending later. I just felt like it needed another draft.
Okay, I think Master of Fate did need to look like Baljeet. I actually think that was essential to me enjoying this episode at all.
I did like that component.
If it was just some random like new character, then at that point I feel like it would come across like the forgettable couple from space who crashes into the backyard. And it's like,
but why is he Baljeet?
I don't know, but like he just happens to look like Baljeet and sound like Baljeet. And
I think what we're learning is that for Alex to be sold on a new character, if they look like Baljeet, it's significantly more likely that Alex will be sold on that character.
It's true. And here's the thing. Sometimes when you have magical creatures from outer space or whatever, they have this thing where it's like, "Oh, I need to morph into whatever form these people will trust me in," So maybe the Master of Fate is a shapeshifter. There's my headcanon.
Oh, and so he maybe like made himself look like Baljeet so that he could appear more like
trustworthy,
like receptive, or that the backyard gang could be more receptive to him because they look like a friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So I gotta say, first of all, from the very first scene of this episode where we kind of see like Dude Perfect basically make some kind of trick shot, I was immediately like, "Oh hell yeah, the gang is going to try to do trick shots today," which was kind of true, but also not really true, because we immediately get introduced to a Hadron collider next door, which has apparently always been there. Now
we don't get introduced to that. That's from earlier in the season.
That's from earlier this season?
Do you not remember Bend It Like Doof? That was the whole joke. They were like, oh, except for that Hadron Collider, how long has that been there?
Oh, I totally forgot. Whoops. Anyway, so it's still there. And I actually forgot / didn't know what a Hadron Collider was.
Oh,
So I looked it up. I looked it up, and apparently the most famous Hadron Collider is the Large Hadron Collider. So to quote Wikipedia, the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, is the world's largest and highest energy particle accelerator. It was built by the European Organization for Nuclear Research between 1998 and 2008 in collaboration with over 10,000 scientists and hundreds of universities and laboratories across more than 100 countries. It lies in a tunnel 27 kilometers in circumference and as deep as 175 meters beneath the France-Switzerland border in Geneva. So basically, what we're learning from this is these basically two people who live next door to Phineas and Ferb have accomplished really an extraordinary feat of science.
Yes.
Thank you for your research.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I figured it would help because I was confused. I was like, okay, if I learned what a Hadron Collider is this going to help me understand what's going on in the episode? That was my main question. And it turns out, no, not really, actually. Because this is not how Hadron Colliders work in real life. They cannot actually open up space-time rifts. So I was like, oh,
well, do we know that it's impossible or just nearly impossible?
It's actually impossible.
Where's it on the scale?
It's in the blue. It's in the impossible. It's in the blue.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. But so I was like, am I confused or is this just confusing? And it turns out it's just confusing because they like don't really explain the mechanism by which like a Hadron Collider could open a space-time rift if something really unlikely happens, because that's not how anything works. But it was fun anyway.
Yeah, I think this episode kind of forces you to have some deniability with its rules. I mean, like, the Master of Fate looks like Baljeet. There's a space-time continuum. Like, none of it's going to make sense. You just have to go with whatever the rules it throws at you are.
Yeah, but, like, it doesn't give any rules. There are,
Yeah, I mean, I think that does prevent this episode from feeling like there were any actual stakes. Like, even though we saw the kids all, like, about to die, it's not like we really knew, like, why or what would occur if they actually were to go in that portal. So I think this was more just played for fun.
It would have been interesting if we got to see what was on the other side of the portal, like to see what would have happened had they gone through. But because all we really saw were like the cracks in the fence, it didn't grip me. You know what I mean?
You know what it was giving? It was giving the end of Spider-Man No Way Home when they have all those random like purple rips into the universe and you see like silhouettes of the other Sony Spider-Man villains that they couldn't get in the movie, and it's like, oh no, and then Doctor Strange just like makes it go away.
Yeah, why didn't we see Doc Ock silhouette in this episode of Phineas and Ferb? That's what I'm wondering.
You remember, Baljeet still canonically has his Hulk powers.
Oh, okay.
Mission Marvel Part 2, that's what I call it.
Let's please not do that.
But so the whole premise with this Master of Fate character is apparently that it's his job to, quote, travel the universe and monitor for near impossible events that could destabilize the universe's very existence. Now, already we're running into problems because, like, everything is unlikely to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but please elaborate.
Like Ferb even says later on, like, oh, every event, all our lives, whatever, is the result of like a sequence of however infinite amount of things. So already like you lose me on the premise. Anyway, I feel like I'm doing a lot of complaining for someone who allegedly likes this episode more than either one of you.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, you're starting to see. I feel like this episode had a lot of good moments, but I think because it was so confusing, it's kind of leaving a sourish taste in our mouth and taking away from the fun moments. And there were a plethora of fun moments in this episode. I mean, the very first joke of them being like, we can do better than that, and then it just cuts to them celebrating versus doing the trick shot. Such a good joke.
I love
and then
that
we
one.
hear Lawrence speak, like two great moments off the bat. But
Lawrence spoke.
But then I feel like once the Master of Fate showed up, it was like, okay, now we're getting a little into confusing territory.
I just want to, while we mention Lawrence, I want to highlight, because we've kind of been complaining that Lawrence hasn't really had many good moments in the back half of the season. I think this is a highlight. His little scheme that he has with Linda to go to a store called Almost Antiques where the things are 99 years old, buy them, wait a year, and then sell them as antiques is it's almost like a Doofenshmirtz level like petty scheme, except it's not actually evil. It's just like, this is what these middle-aged parents are doing for their hobby, and it's so funny.
Calling it a scheme is very generous, because I don't think Lawrence Fletcher has a scheming bone in his body. But also, don't call it a hobby. That's how they make their money.
They've monetized their hobby.
Okay, well, I'll just call it genius.
Yeah, it was great. We were asking specifically not only for more Lawrence stuff, but more antique stuff. So we really got a 2-for-1 special here with this one. Yeah, but I also want to talk about the Perry plot a little bit. Because
It's a good plot.
I think it was the beginning of it in particular was when I laughed the most about where we finally admit, oh, Perry gets trapped out constantly all the time. And this has occurred to me also like, oh, you would think since he's so good at everything, he could probably not get trapped if he wants. So it's probably on purpose. I had conceived it more as being like, oh, he just gets trapped for like the fun of the game. You know, they have their little thing going on. But I guess according to Major Monogram, it's actually part of his, you know, super secret skill plan or whatever.
I mean, that's kind of the reveal at the end of the episode, so we're jumping to the end, but yeah. I think Perry. I mean, they kind of referenced that in the prior episode with the elevator. Not necessarily that Perry's trapped, but I feel like every time Perry's trapped, he gets out of it so quickly that he could have done it the entire time. I think he just likes to listen to Doof, monologue, or he likes to plan it out in his head, because every time you see Perry escape, it's done within like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well, and we've also seen that when Perry is in a hurry, he'll just like skip the other stuff. Like he could thwart Doof at any moment.
Yeah, there are very few examples I can think of where he actually seems to be struggling to get out of a trap, and like Christmas Vacation is one of them.
Yeah. Well, if you think back to like Last Day of Summer, when Doof has like infinite chances to trap Perry, he has to keep extending his trap because Perry, even though he always gets trapped, does always get out. Again, I think this is one of those things where it's like you have to kind of just set aside the logic for a little bit. They were just like, oh, let's have fun, like it's being evaluated, and season 5 has done that a lot. I mean, we had just recently an episode where all of the lair entrances had to get examined. There was an episode earlier this season where they had to renew Alka's business license and Love Muffin's evil license. So I think this was just another one of those. To me, I think the standout of this plot was the introduction of Agent O, this little rival character for Perry. What did you guys think of him?
I could not tell if he was supposed to be an ocelot or an otter.
He's an otter.
Okay, but like,
Oh,
how
really?
did you know?
Well, because they already have an ocelot. It's Heinz.
Oh.
I kept assuming also that it was an ocelot. I didn't, without even thinking about it.
It's
I was
occurring
like,
to me I don't actually know what an ocelot looks like.
Wait. It looks... Oh, that's not what an ocelot... We're not even close.
Not like
not even
Agent O.
close. Oh, yeah. I'm
Okay,
looking it
I
up
don't know.
right now. This is like... It's
It
like
looks like a little
spotted-
tiger. Yeah.
It's like a spotted like leopard or something.
maybe they only call him Agent O because he makes you go, oh.
Oh my god, that was... I
That
think
was a good joke.
if not... No, actually, I will say that is the best Carl line this entire season. The delivery there is so funny, where he goes, oh, that's why they call him Agent O!
I will say, I'm glad that they gave Carl a good line in this episode, because I feel like last episode had one of my least favorite Carl moments.
I know.
We'll get to that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, but we'll get to that
Yeah.
a little bit later. Wow, I feel really dumb about the ocelot thing now, the more I look at pictures of ocelots.
Yeah, I don't know what an ocelot looks. I was like, oh, it's Phineas and Ferb, and then it's an animal that starts with O. What is it going to not be an ocelot? But apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also, I don't know, I liked his entrance.
This won't land with any of you, but the way that Agent O lands into the little like soccer yard, he's on a snowboard diving through the air, and he like grins. It was very reminiscent of the opening of Sonic Adventure 2, where Sonic the Hedgehog hops out of a plane, like riding on a little like piece of the airplane that he tore off, and then he grins at the camera, and then he falls down to San Francisco. That was cool.
I will take your word for it.
Maybe Agent O is a hedgehog.
Why?
Well, there
It
is
could
an
be.
O in hedgehog. I mean, they're
Could
kind
be.
of stretching the
Well, maybe
rules
his
there.
name starts with O. Maybe it's like Owen the Hedgehog.
Owen the Hedgehog definitely exists, and you can find it if you go to Google Images.
I feel like I liked Doof's involvement in this episode, because it's another
Yeah.
episode of Doof and Perry teaming up. It was and also there was a fun song. The thing with that song was it's a list song, and there's another list song in the other episode, which I like a lot. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I feel like Phineas and Ferb does a lot of list songs, and I like them more when it's an actual song versus when it's like a rap. So even though I liked the visuals in this Doof Perry sequence, the song itself didn't really like land with me musically. What did y'all think of the song?
Yeah, it didn't really land for me.
It grew on me the second viewing. I think I also the second time I watched it, I had subtitles on, and there's definitely some clever lyrics that they have going on that I think matches the visual sequences of the trap itself. Specifically, stuff like "You're converting Celsius to Fahrenheit. You're trapped," where it just shows Perry like in a coat that then suddenly gets too tight on him. Like I thought that was well done. Yeah, musically, I could take it or leave it. This was another one that they got a guest songwriter to do. It was Dan and Shuba Vidula, who was a contestant on season 12 of American Idol.
Oh, good for Shuba Vidula.
I don't think she's ever written for Phineas and Ferb before. But you know, I like the different style they were going for.
Yeah, I like what they were going for. I just feel like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Phineas and Ferb rap songs, which I know is, you know.
What?
Except for a select few.
Well, except for like, there's a platypus controlling me. Like, quite frankly, I'm not even that crazy about squirrels in my pants.
Mom's stuck on a zip line?
Yeah, Mom's stuck on a zip line. What's going on?
Okay, but Mom's stuck on a zip line are the characters singing it. When it's just like insert vocalist number one that we like non-diegetically, singing a rap song, it kind of loses me. Mom stuck on a zip line is iconic. No, don't come at me in the comments, okay?
I like how Zach just quickly trashed squirrels in my pants, and he's like, "Oh, but don't worry, I'm not trashing the much more iconic Mom's stuck on a zip line."
I'm not trashing squirrels in my pants. I'm just saying I'm not crazy about it like everybody else is.
Okay.
Yes, those unwashed masses always talking about squirrels in my pants.
I'm not calling them. Okay, yeah. Continue with the episode.
Here's something I want to point out that we haven't pointed out. I think we got our gayest moment yet from Buford, and I love to see it.
Easily.
Where he sees Baljeet next to the Master of Fate, and he goes, "To Baljeets, this is my nightmare, or dream, or nightmare." The first time that I was watching this episode, I thought that he said, "This is my nightmare," or 3, and he was smiling when he said 3, so I briefly thought he was getting excited about thinking that a third Baljeet would show up, which was not the implication. But he's down bad for Baljeet. Let's not kid ourselves.
If there were 3 Baljeets, Alex would love all those characters. If we've learned anything.
Yeah, wait. I mean, we already had an episode where there were like 20 Baljeets.
Yeah.
Split personality. No, not split personality. I don't remember what it's called, but it's not split personality.
Buford is in trouble now. That one.
See the sweat upon his brow. Yeah.
Okay, but I noticed in that episode there were arguably too many Baljeets that Buford was like legitimately frightened. So I wonder if it's like a bell curve where like the more Baljeets, the happier Buford is, until it's more than like...
Yeah, what's the optimal number? How many Baljeets can we have until it actually starts getting worse for Buford?
Sound off in the comments, y'all. What number of Baljeets do you think is the peak for Buford before it gets scary?
Yeah, okay, I have another question, which is, did you guys realize immediately, or how long did it take you to realize that the Master of Fate was not Baljeet?
When Baljeet showed up. I thought he was just doing a fun little bit.
I mean, maybe this sounds stupid, but I was under the impression that like it kind of just is Baljeet, but from like another dimension.
That's what I thought.
Oh, I don't know. As soon as the chicken fell out of the sky, I was like, "That's not Baljeet. This man has magical powers."
Well, but like it could just be a variant of him, the same way that like second dimension Baljeet exists.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if it was like Baljeet from the future when he like found what his true calling was. Like, that's what I thought it was. It's like, oh, down the line, he becomes Master of Fate, and he's coming back to, like, stop an error.
Okay, but why would he still be a child?
I don't know.
He just found out, like, later this summer.
That's why I was confused.
And why would he also still say, "I'm not Baljeet"?
Here's an interesting detail. First of all, I like the gag where the Master of Fate leaves at the end, and he just takes this, like, public transit bus to slowly leave the shot.
Real quick, which begs the question, has there always been a bus stop in front of the Flynn Fletcher household?
I feel like they have been picked up by the bus at least once, but I can't remember when.
Proceed.
Anyway, I don't know if you noticed, but as the bus is pulling away on the back of the bus, it does say, like, it stops and it says Dimension of Fate to Fresno, which implies that, like, the Dimension of Fate is a place where you can go.
On the bus.
So, on the bus. And it connects to Fresno, California. So I think that it is just like that universe's equivalent of Balgier.
But also, if the tri-state area is near New York, this bus is driving from New York to Fresno?
The tri-state area is not near New York. It's near Mount Rushmore and the ocean.
Yeah, why did you think it's in New York?
Where is it near then?
Mount Rushmore.
Oh my god.
Well, they take a road trip to Mount
It's
Rushmore.
everywhere. It's nowhere.
We know it's not New York because in Mission Marvel, it like we get that shot where it like zooms out and the Earth pans and then it zooms back into New York City.
Isn't the tri-state area most commonly referred to like the New York, New Jersey?
But like not here.
Okay.
It's like a Springfield situation in The Simpsons. I don't think they've ever deliberately said.
Yeah, it's near everywhere. All we know is it's not in Canada.
Okay. Thank you for saying that as our Canadian representative.
You're welcome. Yeah, I've looked into it, and I gotta say, tri-state area, probably not in Canada. Like I said, the Master of Fate character, though, I do want to say, I'm coming away with overall very good impressions, mainly because he came in hot with "Did Somebody Say Fate?" Thunder Crash, and he left hot on the bus. So we're looking good. But I think my favorite part of this episode and the overall reason why I'm like, this gets a thumbs up for me is because they set up, all right, this ball is going to somehow get into this cup in a very amusing way. And then at that point when they're like, we're going to sit here with the cup, we're not going to do anything. And they're setting up, all right, the ball is going to, then all of a sudden I'm like excited for the next few minutes. I'm anticipating, all right, how is the ball going to get into the cup? And I got to say, they absolutely did not disappoint because the tennis ball first flies up, hits the satellite, bounces off the almost antique air balloon, flies into Norm's pitching machine because Norm is just playing, he's got a little pitching machine. He's hitting baseballs out into the city. Norm hits it into the city, into the world's largest gumball machine, onto the roulette wheel, onto the Danville Jalalai court. And I looked up Jalalai because I had never heard of this sport, but I guess they played in Danville. Then into Doof's Trapinator, where we're interacting with the B-plot. Perry throws a water bottle at it to make it hit the trap release button and the self-destruct button. And then it goes back to Norm, where, not to foreshadow the final episode, but it goes back to Norm, where he hits it out again into the city, and then he just also hits a baseball into the city, off Lawrence's head, instead of the trampoline that's right next to the car. You have an almost antique trampoline that it could have bounced, but instead of bouncing off the trampoline, it goes off Lawrence's head, then back into the Hadron Collider, exactly where it started before then, only because of the energy with the crazy, interaction with the rift, it goes into the cup. And then immediately the rift disappears, not even an instant later. And I was like, man, you know what? It's what you got, the ball, it flies everywhere and would just end up right back where it started again before it goes into the cup. I was like, you know what? This is exactly what I enjoy. Round of applause. Standing ovation.
It was brilliant. It's kind of like that gag from 30 Rock where Tracy is like trying to make a connection and he reaches it and then he just keeps going like 12 more steps than he needs to circle back.
The leap day episode.
Yeah. I thought that sequence was fantastic. It was it reminded me of like one of the better like action sequences they would do on like Milo Murphy's Law of just calamity happening.
Also, this episode is one of the coolest shots in the whole series where it like does that rotation pan from the kids to the wall where Phineas is like, wow, we really don't pay attention to that side of the backyard, do we?
Yeah, I loved that shot.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cool stuff going on in this episode. I think maybe the weirdness put me off on the first viewing, but subsequent viewing, I would say I like it.
I feel like I need to emphasize something. Like, I did not hate this episode. Like, this was no Doofin retrograde. This was no Mantis fact. I think it was just a little confusing with a lot of elements thrown at once, but there were a lot of really good moments. And I want to give a shout out to the writer of the episode, the associate writer.
Shane Lincoln.
Shane Lincoln, yeah.
His first credit on the season.
Yes, that is an impressive accomplishment, and I like that Shane like took a big swing. And we love to see an associate writer getting a first major credit. And so even though there were elements of it that maybe were a bit much and a bit confusing, there were a lot of elements that made it like what make Phineas and Ferb Phineas and Ferb. Good callbacks to earlier in the season, good jokes, good character moments. So even though it didn't work for me completely, it wasn't a complete miss for me. I enjoyed it. I just didn't love it.
Yeah, and he also got Isabella to say, "Oh my God."
Yeah, we got Isabella calling upon the Almighty for the first time.
The Zoetrope God.
Yeah, no, this feels like the type of thing that in 2010 Disney Channel would have been like, absolutely not. Now they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, Alex, I like that this sets up for the finale because I feel like it establishes the norm doof relationship stakes before going into Venpocalypse.
Yeah.
Even in a throwaway joke of "you never make time for me," which even on its own is a great joke. But that's all I got to say about that episode.
Yeah, I feel like on the whole, what worked for me for this episode were jokes and bits, as opposed to like when you start getting the nitty gritty details of like, wait, what's actually happening? It kind of loses you. But you win some, you lose some. I have one final question for you both.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we all know that TTTTT stands for Temporary Trap Training Truce Treaty, but what does TTTTTT stand for?
Oh man,
Oh, let me think about this for a second.
this is probably like the hardest question you've given us. Was that 60s?
6Ts. Welcome to
Oh
the
my God, I didn't realize
60s.
it was welcome to the 60s.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the 60s. Okay, I got it. But this, the last word is going to be a bunch of words rolled into one. Is that okay?
Do whatever you want.
Okay, so it's, and also keeping in mind that Baljeet looks a lot like the Master of Fate. This is assuming that the Master of Fate is Baljeet from another dimension. It's that time that Tajinder took the bus to Fresno, but the bus to Fresno is one word.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
that's a t-t-t-t-t-t.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Taylor's TikTok takes terrible, terrible toll.
That's so mean to our guest that we may or may not have later.
What if your
All right.
guest has one?
Oh!
You
our
have
guest
one
spoke.
now? Oh God, wait, who
Oh,
was that
ready?
voice? Who was that voice?
Who was that
Who's that
voice?
Wait. That's crazy because my answer to my own question is today, time to talk to Taylor.
Mine was
Alright.
"'Tis time to talk to Taylor."
Am I the only one that didn't do a
Ah,
Taylor answer?
Tis time to
I'm so
talk
sorry.
to Taylor. That would be better. All right, well, we'll be back
Tis time to
quicker
talk
than
to
you can
Taylor. Oh,
say.
that's really good.
Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta.
This is After.
When opportunity knocks, you gotta think inside the box because the floor is lava. Hey guys, we're back for part 2 of the episode. And oh wow, look, we have a special guest, and she hasn't
What?
even said anything before this moment in the episode. You might not recognize her because she's often in disguise as Jack Sparrow or Taylor Swift or Cinderella, but she is MWCA's and TikTok's Candace Flynn, the co-producer of MWCA, and she once had her lip busted open by a piece of chocolate. It's Taylor Renee Castle.
That was like the best introduction to me I've ever heard. It really, and the choice in character was really interesting too. I don't think anybody's ever related me to Cinderella directly. Like, I know I do dress up like Cinderella every once in a while, but I appreciate the deep cut.
And also, we are recording this. Taylor and I are in the living room right now because Andrew was feeling a little sick earlier, so we're in separate rooms. But Taylor is sitting in the exact same spot where her lip got busted open by a piece of chocolate.
Actually, I was sitting where you are.
oh, let's switch real quick.
No, actually, don't do that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I already fixed the problem. I mirrored our screen so I don't hate myself.
Oh, okay.
I would like to clarify that while I was
Yeah,
the
you did.
person who threw the piece of chocolate that busted Taylor's lip open, it was per request. She said, "Hey boy, chocolate
Hey,
now."
no, hey kid, hey
Or
kid.
"Hey kid," and then I threw it, and blood started coming out.
That
But
can't
that's
be true. That's not what I said. Is it
It
really?
was something like that.
Taylor, you said, "Hey kid, give me another chocolate," like six
And it was
times. And on
it
the
was like the
sixth
sixth time of the night.
that Andrew was
um,
throwing chocolates in your mouth, and then boom, busted your lip.
Normally, I'm the one busting, but then it was Andrew.
Whoa, you just
Ooh.
whoa.
I
that
think
was
did we just
trippy.
get Candace Flynn on the call?
That was trippy. Wow.
Taylor, do you want to talk for 2 minutes or less about your relationship to Phineas and Ferb, the show?
Oh, wow. My relationship to Phineas and Ferb, the show. It starts long ago in a galaxy far, far away known as TikTok. I did not grow up watching Phineas and Ferb by any means. Not because I didn't like it. I just, it was not on my show roster. But then I started getting like, I don't want to say harassed, but kind of for looking like an AirPod as a human being on TikTok.
That's mean. That's very
And people were like, you should cosplay Candace from Phineas and Ferb. And I was like, bet, I guess. And so I did, and it did well. And so then I run across this little guy named Andrew, and he was like, "Hey, I wrote a Phineas and Ferb musical in college. If you ever want to like do any of the songs for your TikToks, like go for it." And I was like, "Really?" And then I'm like a sleuth, so I went on YouTube and I watched the whole show, and I enjoyed it. And I thought, "Hey, it's COVID. Let's do it now." Via
That's
Zoom.
COVID. Let's do it. Let's do COVID.
It's COVID. Let's do it. And now here we are. And now I've still not fully watched the entire like whole thing of Phineas and Ferb straight through, because it's huge and enormous. But I have watched a handful at this point, and I'm very very familiar with the character of Candace, which is I think why I'm here today.
For a Candace-centric episode.
Yes.
How much of season 5 were you able to watch before coming
Minimal.
to this?
Any?
But I think I have a very interesting perspective going into this episode particularly, and I did watch a couple more, but I wanted to show my boyfriend Phineas and Ferb because he's never seen a single moment of Phineas and Ferb. So a few weeks ago, before I ever show him MWCA, I was like, you need to know what it is before you just walk into that blind, because it's a 2.5 hour show. And we watched the very first 3 episodes of Phineas and Ferb recently. And so then I jumped into this episode we're talking about today, and the stark differences, it's like violent how different the show is now in terms of animation, which I know you guys have talked about, in terms of voice acting, in terms of like style and a little bit of the structure. And yeah, it's like, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but it's like almost unrecognizable except for the fact that they look, you know, iconically as they always have. It's very different.
Because like in early season 1, they definitely had a very distinct tone that is like, oh, this is the early season 1 tone. And then by the end of season 1, they had sort of figured out their thing a little bit. And then it mostly stayed like that for the rest of the original run. And now I think they've kind of tried to stay pretty close to that, but there's also like, oh, the voice actors are like 20 years older than they were when the show started, you know?
Yes. But you know what? I didn't mind that so much. Is it okay if I'm like jumping into this right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
We are on a podcast to talk about it, so go
well,
for it.
I didn't know if there was like some, you know, way you wanted to go about this.
World's your oyster.
But yeah, I think that having the voice actors kind of have more of that aged sound actually also lends itself really well into an episode where I think especially Candace is a little bit more mature. So I think it works. Like, I didn't mind that at all, but it was very violent at first. When I heard all of them talking, I was like, oh my God, this is like crazy.
I do want to piggyback off of that because like we're jumping way into the episode with this comment, so I apologize. But that moment where Candace has her eyes closed and she's talking to her brothers about how she is worried about their safety and she wants like them to stay safe and wants to protect them. I do think Ashley Tisdale, being 20 years older, her maturity does shine through in that voice performance. And I like that moment because I feel like it's one of the rare instances where we get to see Candace being an older sister, not in the realm of I want to get them in trouble, but being an older sister in the, hey, I'm looking out for you. And I don't know if it's because Ashley Tisdale recently like had a child or something and she like now has that perspective, but like I love that Candace moment and her performance in that line specifically.
Right.
That time in the mom group really aged her.
Yeah. Oh God, the mom beef.
Okay. I wasn't going to say this until like later because I didn't want to seem too negative, but since we're already talking about it, Ashley Tisdale in this episode specifically, I think gave a really bad voice acting performance, like front to back.
What?
Like and this is not something I typically comment on. And like we pointed out a little bit, and like I know like Kian mentioned a little bit also about like, oh, Ashley Tisdale sounds like a mom a little bit at certain times this season. But I found it was always very like, oh, sparse here or there. Like, oh, you can tell she sounds a little bit older. older, but like this one all the way through, I just felt like I couldn't buy her as a teenager at all, like front to back. Like when like at the beginning when she's talking to Linda, being like, this date is huge and I don't want to be late. Whereas I would have expected her to be like, be like screaming a little bit. She was really more like, this is huge and I don't want to be late, and similar in like the elevator, her like, oh no, 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 felt like much too, I don't know, almost like calm. Like I think Candace is funny and an interesting character when she thinks she's more mature than she actually is. And so when she actually sounds mature and when she's calmly saying like, I just don't want you boys to get hurt, rather than like sobbing like in Candace Against the Universe and be like, I don't want you boys to get hurt. Like that is what I think is more interesting when she's still like a kid, So I just felt like she sounded like that all the way through. And I was like, I don't know. It was a big block for me.
You know what? Not to give away, I'm not gonna spoil because we're definitely not at the end of the episode yet. But the ending of the episode, especially I think for teenage girls, is huge. It's like a huge milestone. And so I wonder if that was kind of preemptively the tone they wanted to keep for her, because it's such a mature ending to the episode. I'm not going to say what it is right now.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I feel like, well, because on top of that, this is, I think, the first time we really see Candace driving Phineas and Ferb to go somewhere. Like, I think in this episode, we are seeing Candace as a whole take on a more mature role in their lives and a more mature role in her own life as well.
Yeah, that was crazy to me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
First of all, who trusts her with a car? Don't do that.
She got her license earlier in the season.
Well, okay,
great episode.
My bad.
You should check it out. But Alex, I think your points are valid. I just think
that's
the episode,
something people only say that if they don't agree with what you said. Valid.
Well, yeah, because I don't. Because I think the Ashley Tisdale's more mature performance lended to the overall themes of this episode.
Andrew, what do you take? What's your take?
Be the deciding factor, Andrew.
Here's what I liked about this episode. This was a rare episode of Phineas and Ferb, which I feel like we have not gotten much of in season 5, or even like many episodes past like season 2, where they reduce the scope to the main 5 characters. And I love to see that. This was an episode with Phineas, Ferb, Candace, Doof, and Perry. That was pretty much, I mean, like, Linda was there at the beginning, Jeremy was there at the end, but it was about the 5 characters. And I think in doing that, it gave a lot more breathing room to, like, just dialogue and conversations between the characters. I mean, I love when, like, Buford's quipping every 5 seconds, but, like, sometimes it's better to just, like, see what these characters are like when they're having full conversations with each other. And the fact that they're stuck in an elevator almost made it kind of like a bottle episode where it's like you can explore those a little bit deeper. I liked a lot of the moments that Candace shared with Phineas and Ferb. I don't necessarily think all of them were completely earned, and the one that I take a little bit of issue with is the one we're talking about, where she has that speech where she's like, the truth is I'm just worried about you guys and I want to look out for you. That one fell a little flat for me. I'm like, I could see what they were going for, but also it's like, in practice, like, there's not many moments of Candace jumping in and being like, stop, this is dangerous, let me make sure it's safe. Like, I feel like that's maybe just something that they threw into this episode they could have developed more. But the moments that I did like were, like, even just that conversation that Phineas and Ferb has with her before that, where he's like, hey, it seems like you're always getting upset specifically when we're doing cool things. You're always welcome to join in, right? Like, that's such a small, basic thing, but it's like something we never hear Phineas actually say to her, and it's like that was really wholesome to hear. Like,
if I may just like jump in,
go for it.
I feel like this episode worked for me because it was one of the rare episodes this season where we really explored the sibling dynamic.
Yeah.
Both the positives and the negatives, like and like the highs and the lows, because we see those emotional moments in the elevator, but also we see just Candace like not wanting to walk near her brothers at the mall, and we see her driving them and being like, all right, I'm in charge, don't do that. And I like seeing Phineas Ferb and Candace as siblings. And I feel like this episode gave us some of those moments that were lacking this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I agree with Andrew with what you were saying about like the bottle episode thing was super cool, because we've never seen the A plot and B plot have so much physical proximity to each other, and I don't think they really could ever be outside of this context that they're right next to each other. And I almost feel like it did occur to me like, oh, you could have some kind of like, oh, Perry's identity tension here because they're right next to Phineas and Ferb and Candace, but they decided not to go that route, which is fine because, you know, you can't do that all the time. It could potentially, you know, wear itself.
Dude, he doesn't care anymore. He went on TV earlier this season. That
is true. He did go on. This is really, we're really in Hannah Montana season 4 territory right now, with Perry's Secret. But Andrew, I also agree with what you were saying about like specifically they try to kind of dig into, okay, so what's actually lying behind Candace wanting to bust her brothers. And yeah, I don't know if they quite hit the nail on the head with it or if Candace is just like lying to herself a little bit, because I think it started as more of like this insecurity of like, my brothers are so much cooler than me. And I think it has over time developed into, I need to prove to my mom that I'm not actually insane, or I need to prove to myself that I'm not actually insane. And I feel like Safety didn't really ever come into it that much.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day too, that speech was all for a bit. So whether or not it's earned or not is kind of pointless. It was all for a joke anyway, for them to not even have listened to anything she said.
But I think the joke doesn't work unless you are emotionally invested in what she's saying.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so I think the reason why the joke worked for me is because I was emotionally invested.
Yeah, I agree.
This episode also has what I think Zach pointed out as a bad Carl moment.
Oh, I hate this moment.
The cat and the snake.
Well, yeah, the cat and the snake, just because it felt very much like the writers being like, grr, millennials and Gen Z are always on their phones and they don't want to work. And it's like, okay, that's not an accurate representation of our age group. It felt very boomery. See,
I would feel more like that if they also already didn't always have like Doofenshmirtz also getting distracted all the time about similar things. I don't know if it felt more like an age thing as more of just like a dumb little phone joke.
I don't know.
I want to point out a contrast.
Boomers complaining about our generation.
You can easily tell the generational divide between who wrote each of these episodes, because I feel like the joke in Elevator Irritator was, haha, aren't young kids always on their phones? The joke that they had in Master of Fate, which I actually liked a lot better, was Candace was just looking at this completely batch video of like a person with a paper bag on his head, and she was like, what am I watching? I feel like that is way more accurate as to how our generation actually uses their phones.
I agree.
You could tell that was written by a younger writer.
Yes, I wanted to actually mention that joke because I really liked it, because I broke it because it's a ventriloquist, and sometimes the ventriloquist was a super impressive thing of like drinking water while like singing as the puppet. But now the ventriloquist and the puppet both have paper bags on their head, and the ventriloquist isn't even drinking the water. The water is just like running down their shirt while they're not even singing well. They're just going it's like, it's bad on like 6 different levels.
I hate to say it, I would unironically really like that video. Someone in the comments, get on it.
Come see Avenue Q.
Taylor, we gotta save the plugs at the end.
I mean, just kidding. Erase that.
Taylor, what did you think about the song in this episode?
I don't know how I felt about it. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys' opinions are, because you've been much more faithfully watching and listening to all the new songs. So like, how do you guys think it compares to what you've heard so far?
Personally, I love this song. I think it's a banger. I love a good list song when it actually is like musical versus just rapping, as we were talking about in the last half. And then also there were just a lot of, visually speaking, the face painting being Perry the Platypus, I think when one of the lines was like register a car or something, or register a license plate, the license plate says platypus. Also, the very first thing being we can play hide and seek. That was a joke that I made when I was stuck in an elevator 13 years ago. So I was like, oh, he's just like me for real. And then Phineas stood on his hands and I was like, oh, he's just like me for real. He was doing a play and I was like, oh, he's just like me for real. Like, I felt very seen by Phineas in this song. And
also, do you use the Oxford comma?
Yes, I'm a writer. Oh my God, he's just like me
Good.
for real. So I, as someone who played Phineas in MWCA, I felt very seen. And also just musically, I it's been stuck in my head. Like, you gotta think inside the box. I was hooked on it from the very first time I heard that hook because it's called a hook.
Yeah, I like this one.
Candace is just like me for real because I was stuck in an elevator once and like it's the panic you feel stuck in an elevator and wanting just so badly to go about your day is crazy. Have you been
How
stuck
long
in
did
an
it take you
elevator?
to get
Well, that's
out?
the thing. Yeah, I was 12. That was
Oh,
before I
God.
developed my crippling claustrophobia.
Oh,
Now, if it happened
now you'd
nowadays,
be
I would hate
dead.
it. But when I was
Yeah.
12, I was surrounded by a bunch of like adults and other kids my age at like a camp. So I was like, this is great. Let's play hide and seek, guys. And nobody laughed.
And you still remember it to this day.
Yeah, keeps me up at night.
And the man who stole that joke, Swampy Marsh. No,
Did Swampy write this episode?
no, I don't think so. I don't-
No, Scott Peterson wrote this episode, and he was stealing from the person who wrote the Milo Murphy's Law episode where they were also stuck in an elevator at the Googleplex Mall the entire time. Scott Peterson.
Yeah, all right, we have to talk about this. Okay, so basically, thanks to a commenter on a previous episode, what was the commenter's name? Andrew, do you have it pulled up?
At Try the Roach Burger. That's a terrible username.
Well, have you tried it?
Try the Roach Burger commented, I want to put this here for whenever episode 19 podcast comes out, but there are so many similarities to the first segment of the 19th episode of season 2 of Milo Murphy's Law. Both plots are about the main characters being stuck in an elevator at the Googleplex Mall. Both episodes were written by the same writer, Scott Peterson. Both episodes have Doof sucking on a straw for a good bit of the runtime. Lots of very minor things add up.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
God.
I just rewatched Escape,
Yeah.
which is one of the episodes of Milo Murphy's Law I feel like I already kind of remembered the most because it was kind of near the end of the run. And I mean, it is kind of fun. Those are, striking similarities. But one of the funniest things I noticed in Milo, the elevator that they're stuck in has like clear glass so everyone can see them or the other characters can kind of see them. And it's not really the main characters. It's basically Milo and like 3 other side characters who basically don't like each other and then like start doing improv together. And
Everyone's nightmare.
everyone's a nightmare. And then in Phineas and Ferb, I think you obviously you couldn't have the clear glass in Phineas and Ferb because the whole point is like, oh, the A plot and B plot are right next to each other, so they have to not be able to see each other, which would be way worse. Yeah, but definitely very funny. And I feel like Scott, I don't even know if Scott was like, let me recycle a Milo idea as much as he was just like, I know a fun concept, getting stuck in an elevator.
Yeah, despite all of those similarities, I also, after rewatching both episodes, was like, okay, they are going for different things. I will also say, one thing that the Milo episode Escape has going for it is the introduction of Cabin Puss, which means
Yes.
the Phineas and Ferb episode is better.
No, I love Cabin Puss. Justice for Cabin Puss.
He's an abomination.
I just realized a gripe with this episode that I have.
Yeah, go for it.
So, like, your point about the clear elevator made me think of it. So, Doof and Candace talk to each other through the elevator in this episode, which I think is very fun. However, because this takes place after the events of last summer, and we all know they relived that last day of summer over and over and over again, do you think they would recognize each other's voices? Or because the thing is, maybe Doof
Apparently
would
not.
recognize Candace's voice, but Doof is a very distinct voice, and I'm surprised that Candace wasn't like, hey, that's the guy from last summer that put me through hell as I was trying to live that day over and over again.
I mean, they should, but because like at this point, them running into Doofenshmirtz is just not even that rare of a thing anymore. But if Stacy doesn't recognize Monogram's voice at this point, I feel like they're just gonna kind of play that up.
Okay.
as,
fair
don't
enough.
worry, they can't recognize each other.
Yeah.
I feel like this is maybe moving into a different territory of the episode or just the show in general right now. I feel like Phineas and Ferb has grown beyond its like 12-minute runtime constraints, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like an episode like this, I would have liked to have seen it be longer, actually, because I feel like there were a lot of big things introduced into this, at least for Candace. And I would have liked to have seen it take its time more. So I think it kind of suffers from being so short.
Yeah, that's something that we've said a lot this season, is there's episodes that feel like they would be better if given more breathing room.
Mm-hmm.
And even the season finale, which was 22 minutes, I feel like could have been like 44 minutes, and I guess we'll get more into that next week. But yeah, I think especially as they're going for more of these, like, here's little character arcs and revelations that we're going to explore, it's always good to make sure you have time to explore that properly.
And that's the thing, is the show's been going so long and they've done so many concepts, they kind of have to do, like you were saying earlier, like big swings and take more risks and chances, I think, because they've done everything else. Which I guess kind of does suffer the faults of being 12 minutes long. So
Yeah. Taylor, what did you think about Candace and Jeremy at the end?
Okay, thank you. This is what I need to talk about. That is like such a huge thing for. I never thought I would see that. First of all,
for
I was
those
shocked.
for those that haven't that might not know what we're talking about, what exactly?
Yeah, it's such a huge thing to go to a Tiny Cowboy concert.
Jeremy said the L word. Ooh. Which, like, you know, it's so common and it's so clear that, like, Candace has been in love with this man for, well, you know, however long technically the show's been going on.
1 year.
1 year. You're right. 1 year. And it's like such an easy, you know, it's so common for a girl to be like pining over some guy forever and ever and ever. So to finally have that moment where like he says, I love you first is like enormous. And that's like that must mean like everything to Candace. And she doesn't say it back, which I thought was interesting.
She should have said, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I was so excited for her. That's so cool. I love that he said it first.
It was a really wholesome
I
moment.
like that Jeremy was the emotionally vulnerable one here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was accidental, but that's how you know it's true.
And I like the context.
Like how Chandler accidentally says it in Friends to Monica.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty common trope, but it's always cute. It always works.
Cute. Always works.
Anyway, Andrew, sorry. What were you saying?
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the exact wording so I get it right.
Are you pulling up the transcript of the episode?
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to everybody who has ever edited the Phineas and Ferb wiki. You have no idea how much you've come in clutch for this podcast and for our friend group in general. So thank you.
You've really kept our friendship group together.
So I love this sequence as a whole because it I feel like one of the reasons that Jeremy's such a good fit for Candace is not only does he understand Candace, but like he loves her for who she is all of the time. And then when they have this moment where, like, you know, they're both late to the concert and both of them are really stressed out that they've ruined the date for each other. And then they just kind of accept, well, at least we're with each other. And Candace goes, I always say we can spend our time being upset or we can choose to make the most out of the time we have together. And he goes, and that, Candace Flynn Fletcher, is why I love you. Like, it's so wholesome. He didn't just randomly say it for no reason.
Wait, I just realized something. That's something Candace does not always say that. That is what Ferb always says.
Yeah, Jeremy loves Ferb, actually.
Jeremy loves
I think that's what
Ferb.
we've learned.
Don't ruin this for me.
Okay.
Stop.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
must
No,
be
I
stopped.
did find the scene kind of funny, and it took me off guard for a second, specifically because it's not something they built up. Like, they could have probably, if they wanted to, done some kind of plot where Candace is like, oh no, am I supposed to say I love Jeremy or something? And I'm glad they didn't.
Well, because it
Yeah.
echoes Summer Belongs to You, where she's like, we haven't even kissed or called each other boyfriend and girlfriend yet. And then later in the
Yeah.
episode he does. And it's like, wow, who could have seen this coming? But this one literally shocked us because there was, like you said, no hinting at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
exactly. And I like how, like, Candace is obviously very happy about all this. But when you look at it kind of beat for beat, basically what happens is Jeremy says I love you, Candace doesn't say it back and then runs away, which could be
Yeah,
interpreted
that's what
badly.
I'm saying. It's so crazy to me.
Also, side note, I love that Jeremy does love Phineas and Ferb too. Like, he's always so on board with anything they're doing. And I even love that little moment where he's like, sorry, I'm late. Hey, nice earrings. Like, he really just does
Yeah,
love
he
that
noticed.
family for everything. And I thought that was so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's wholesome.
I forgot to mention it earlier, but another just like wholesome sibling moment is when they're in the elevator and Ferb has just decided he's made these earrings for Candace. Like they really are looking out for her and her goals. And might I also add, their original intent for going to the mall was to get the new issue of Echidna Man, and they didn't even worry about that. They were just
no,
like,
they
we
wouldn't
gotta help
care.
out our sis.
No, and I thought it was really impressive too that even though, you know, the day and Candace's plan, like for her date, didn't go the way she wanted, like she had matured enough throughout that episode to like take what she had learned from her brothers and apply it. And yeah, I don't know. It was really cute. It was sweet.
Yeah.
And we got to hear Meatloaf by Tiny Cowboy.
Was Echidna Man meant to be a play on words about a kid and a man? Echidna Man?
Oh, I don't think so.
I thought so.
I just thought of Knuckles from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Scott Peterson, if you're listening, can you tell us what your
It
intent
felt
was?
a little bit Gordon Guts of Animu to me. I don't know. Echidna Man, Gordon Guts of Animu. But anyway, yeah. Zach, what were you saying about Tiny Cowboy?
I was just saying I thought that was a fun little... This episode had a couple fun callbacks. It had a callback to Meatloaf and Tiny Cowboy. And also for the diehard fans that have been watching every episode of season 5 and remembers everything, Norm going, "This is the job my dad gave me."
Chef's Kiss. Chef's Kiss. So good.
Justin's for Lawrence's "This is the job my wife gave me" from episode 1.
I love that one.
Which also echoes MWCA, how Norm and Lawrence have the same exit music.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they were going for.
No, it was so funny.
I like that.
I loved it.
One thing I want to mention real quick that we haven't yet is I like how petty Perry is in this episode. Like he does help Doof get out, but then as soon as he does, he just like he literally opens the elevator to hold Doofsinator in front of him, break it in half, throw it in the trash, and walk away. He's like, "You did this. I'm leaving." I also like how have none of us mentioned the kid in the elevator who's like, "Hey, mister," who's just like being the most obnoxious kid the entire episode. There's a scene in which Perry looks out the elevator. He sees this kid being this obnoxious little kid, and then he pulls out what looks like a rocket launcher. I thought he was going to shoot this kid. He's actually just using his jetpack to get the Irritator away from him. But the way that they storyboarded that sequence, I was like, Perry's going to shoot this kid, and it will be justified.
I haven't mentioned the kid because I hate him and don't care about him.
That's valid.
That kid was getting on my last nerve.
Yeah.
Also, where are his parents?
Where are any of these kids' parents?
He just got dropped off at the mall.
Just got dropped. Yeah, just to pick up the new issue of Echidna Man.
Oh, also, the mall, consistent with its appearance earlier this season, still has the pizzeria outside. So we like to see that.
Also, real quick, couple things about the mall. One of them is an error that I have with the humanity in the show, and the other is an error I have with the continuity of the show. The humanity, how were so many people bumping into that pot with the plant when there was so much space to the left and right of them? People just kept bumping into that. That is completely unreasonable. I took a lot of gripe with the citizens of Danville for bumping into that pot and continuing to knock the Irritator off. And then on top of that, Lay Schmertz, which while a funny joke to see Doof's fashion line, why is the C in there? I feel like there's been some non-continuity on how to spell Doofenshmirtz's name, whether there's a C or whether there's not a C.
It started out with a C in like the original Pitch Bible. And I think,
yes.
I want to say, I don't know for sure, but I want to say there were instances in season 1 in which it was written with a C.
Really?
But now it's back for some reason?
No, I don't think that's officially his last name. I think that's just how his brand is spelled.
Yeah, it looks more,
French.
fancy dancy.
I don't know. I don't trust people who use a different last name professionally than their personal actual last name.
Excuse me?
Yeah, me neither, Zach Timpson.
I actually just changed. Oh, I forgot all about that too. I was like, wow, he's referencing
Taylor
me?
just made this disgusted face assuming that Zach was talking about her.
No, we both have stage names.
Not anymore. I changed mine back.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Castle isn't your real last name?
No.
Wait, how should we credit you in this podcast, by the way?
Taylor R Chapman.
Taylor R Chapman.
Okay,
right on.
good to know. Okay, All right. So I'll edit that back in from when I introduced you earlier.
just cut my voice into saying Taylor R. Chapman.
Taylor R Chapman. Okay.
We'll
You should
use
do that.
I
the
literally
box.
just did that. I didn't tell anybody I did it. It's okay.
That's very funny though. I love
All right.
that.
Well, now you heard it here first, everyone. Okay. I have one last
Also,
thing to say.
wait, really quickly, I just want to talk about how I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I love that this ends with the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory reference.
Oh my god, yeah, I forgot to say that too. I love that.
It does?
So cute.
Yeah, the
The
elevator.
elevator flying into the sky.
Oh, I never watched Willy Wonka, so I don't know.
You are missing out.
What do you mean?
I also liked the elevator version of the Quirky Worky song.
Anyway, I have one last thing I want to share, which is Ferb had a lot to say in this episode. He was yapping. He had like 4 separate lines. He said
spoke
sup.
before Phineas did.
He did. He said sup. He said we gave it a boost. He said pose is quite unorthodox. And he said she was our ride. That's so many words.
Good job, Ferb.
He's really breaking out of his shell.
He spoke more than Perry in this episode.
He did.
I love that for him.
My hunch is that David is just so into this role that they're like, all right, we'll give you a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
David is really passionate about it, and I love. Side note, I love seeing how he and Vincent are just like always hanging out.
Yeah, it's wholesome.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Taylor, did you notice that Jeremy sounded different?
Yeah. What happened there?
Mitchell Musso went to jail, and now the
Oh
guy
my
who
God,
does Ferb
that's
is also
right.
doing allegedly David Ergo Jr. is voicing Jeremy. That's not confirmed.
But they have
but-
not confirmed it anywhere that it's David.
But it
Ergo
is
Jr.
true.
Like
it hasn't been
but it is
officially
true.
confirmed, but it is 100% accurate.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Well-
the way the cookie crumbles.
Rip Mitchell Musso.
He's not dead.
He's still alive.
But he's dead to us.
He could be listening.
Oh, Mitchell, if you're listening and want to be a guest, just hit
We
us
would
up.
love to have Mitchell Musso on as
We
a
would
guest.
honestly probably
It would have
do
to
that.
start with saying, "This is a collect call to prison."
Oh God.
I think we might need to cut this part. Okay.
We wish Mitchell the best.
Okay. Oh, I have one last thing I want to say. We never circle back to Doof's pee. I was surprised because right off the bat they're like, "Oh no, we're stuck in the elevator and I'm drinking a lot of a beverage. Oh no, I'm gonna have to pee," and then we just move on from it.
Oh yeah. Also, something else I noticed about this episode and the next episode,
We're very all over the place today.
being like
This will
being
never
like
come
Also,
master,
here's another thing.
being like Master of Fate. It's another complaint I have with the season as a whole. How many curse you Perry the Platypuses have we actually gotten this season? Because we almost got one in this episode and we didn't get one in Master of Fate. And I just feel like that's an element of the formula of the episodes that has not been really prominent this season.
I think we've gotten like 2.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of been erased from the formula, if I'm being quite frank.
There was not a single "Aren't you a little young" line in the entire season.
There wasn't?
Although to be fair, they are all a year older.
Well, yeah, because they're older now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now they see 10-year-olds with like power saws and they're like, yeah, that's fine. Or 11 or however old they are.
11 is the threshold.
All right. I have one last question for all of you before we close this out. Why did Perry wait so long to use his laser to escape?
Because he was listening to the song that they were singing in the next elevator and they were like, ooh, this is good. I don't want to leave while the song's going on.
He's gotta keep him in anticipation. He's gotta make it stylish.
Taylor?
He waited so long because because
He cherishes his friendship.
he cherishes his friendship with Heinz Doofenshmirtz.
Wow, Taylor, did
Aw.
you just come up with that on your own?
Yep. You
Wow.
heard it here first.
A lot
I
of
was not prepared for a quiz, you guys.
Oh, that was not a quiz. Alex just gives us a random question at the end of every.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
The
Yeah, it's
actual
fine.
answer is it was charging. All right, great.
Have you guys ever
Great.
shown up at a concert where they don't let you in after the first 15 minutes?
Yeah, what the heck was that about?
It ruins the farewell.
I've never been to a concert, so I wouldn't know.
Really?
You've never been to a concert?
Any concert?
Never.
Don't you dress up and sing as Taylor Swift to children?
I do concerts. I've never been to one.
Oh, because you can't attend your own, and who could
Yes.
compare?
Of course.
Taylor, do you want to plug yourself?
Yeah, because I need to charge.
Ayo! Oh, that was good. That was good.
That was very good.
All right. So you can find me on Instagram. I do cosplays and act and stuff at Bravo Almara, not Bravo Llama, as some people think it is.
Oh, that'd be good though.
Bravo Almara. I'm currently in a production of Avenue Q in the Burbank, North Hollywood area, if anybody wants to come and see that. Zach and I are going to be doing a one-night-only show, unless it gets extended by some miracle. Production of Nightman Cometh, which is based on that one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yes, I am playing Charlie, and Taylor is playing Dee.
Yes, indeed.
So if you're any It's Always Sunny fans, at Wisteria Theater.
Yes, Wisteria Theater in the Burbank, North Hollywood area.
I can totally see you as D. That's kind of perfect.
Oh, come on, Charlie.
Hey,
come on.
hey, stop it, Dee. Shut up, you bird. Anyway.
I want to do a song, Charlie.
Oh, you want to do the song? And that is a sneak peek of what you'll see at the Nightman Cometh at
Wow.
Wisteria Theater. You can find the information on my socials and Taylor's socials.
Yes, indeed.
Theater.
Acting.
All right, well, I think that's it. We're going to have another episode pretty soon because there was another episode, the season finale, that came out on the same day as this one. So keep an eye out for that. But as we say at the end of every episode of Afterferb,
Cloudy with a chance of Mom!
hey, I know what we're gonna analyze. The episodes in season 5. Hope it brings you laughter. This is After